Start now?
Special guest. Special guest.
Call the roll.
Mayor Bain,
I'm here.
Vice Mayor Best,
Present.
Councilwoman Mitchell,
Here.
Councilwoman Zapata,
Here.
Councilman Patralanda.
Here.
Please stand for invocation. Councilwoman Mitchell.
O Heavenly Father, we gather here tonight humbled by the forces of nature and by what could have happened, and humbled by your benevolence to spare us. We thank our employees, our neighbors, and everyone who works so hard to prepare us for this storm and to help us through the recovery. Particularly thank Commissioner Rebecca Sosa and our Congressman Brian Avila for always being there for our community. Guide us, Lord, on this city council night to be wise, fair, and caring, and to always do what's best for our community. Thank you.
Please stand for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay.
Mayor, if I might, we received, with this regard to order of business, we received an email from the attorney for the applicant on the street, the alley vacation, requesting a deferral till next week. Certainly associated with the hurricane and whatnot, everyone's kind of coming up to speed on everything, and the administration is supportive of that deferral, especially to ensure as much participation as possible. So that's before you for your consideration. The applicant has requested next council meeting, the 25th, but it's up to you to the date to when to defer to.
I'm fine, sir.
For the 25th? It's okay? Okay. 10A will be not on this agenda for till
Question for to name the circle.
at the ice and everything.
Thank you, Mayor.
We go to Kathy Fleischman.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, council members, Mr. Alonso and Ms. Romero, and the esteemed Daniel Espino and Erica. So my name is Kathy Fleischman. I live at 810 Pinecrest Drive. And although there has been a deferment of that agenda item, and now through our city attorney we find that it's going to be on the 25th, or requested to be the 25th of September, I wanted to come here tonight just to speak on behalf of not only myself, but of so many members of our community that really, I think, cannot believe that this is even an issue, that something like this would come up, that that the city would even entertain an idea of opening up an alleyway to private residents. And I think that it puts us in a sense of jeopardy, certainly as a safety issue. And secondarily, I don't think that we as a city should be in the business of selling anything to private residents for their needs, as opposed to the greater need of the community. We've just suffered through Hurricane Irma, an awful lot of debris, an awful lot of trees. Now, what if we didn't have access to just one alley? What if emergency vehicles didn't have access to get through? What if? And at the end of the day, I think that the needs of two do not by any means outweigh the needs of the many. And so I'll be here hopefully again on the 25th to speak against this. But in the meantime, food for thought. I speak just for myself, but I also represent so many people who couldn't be here tonight because they are dealing with debris and with, post-Irma shock. So I thank you very much for your attention.
Buzz Fleischman.
Buzz Fleischman, 810 Pinecrest Drive. Mr. Mayor, City Council. I echo what my wife says. For the city to vacate their ownership, which is it's a giveaway of a right-of-way at 25, behind 25 Deer Run and 37 Deer Run, being almost 3,100 square feet, is wrong on so many levels. When the city wants to give away part of common city property, tax-paying citizens need to know, and we will raise our voices. Giving an alleyway to a private citizen is not what the city should be doing. It's like that sliver the previous council promoted as not being part of the golf course when it always was. And the previous city manager, Ron Gorlin, told us it was part of the golf course deed in an email. That's the public record. I'll be glad to share that with any of you. That council was willing to give it away so the abutting property owner had a more valuable piece of land. And 3/4 of the tax-paying residents said no. So the city found out that it could not be in the business of making a private citizen's property more valuable, which looks like what it could have done before the current item in question was deferred. It'll be up again, we'll be back. Why does it want to give the alley away? The alley that city vehicles use to utilize garbage pickup, trash pickup, what utilities like Comcast, AT&T, FP&L use when branches take down power lines and communication services need servicing for the good and welfare and safety of all the residents. So if the city indeed is looking after the good and welfare of its residents, why give needed and useful property away? What's the motivation here? I would hate to think that a good old boy wink wink network is in play. That has no place here. City of Miami Springs is in the business of protecting the common good by looking after its residents' welfare and property values as the codes allow. No, City Council, do not give that property away. It belongs to the city as a whole. Thank you.
What's this name here? Is that Kortenbach? Kimberly, and you're both, I can't read the first name. Jorgen, okay. You're gonna go as a team?
Okay. We are a team. We're Kim and Jürgen Kortenbach, 122 Pinecrest Drive. We came not knowing they had been deferred, but actually I see it as a good opportunity, being we just had the hurricane. Our property actually abuts directly with the property that he wants to connect with the alley. And we found it disturbing because we bought our property in the year 2000 from the original owner. We live in a historic house. And then we got to learn the whole history of the property and the alleyways. I mean, I even have photographs, an aerial photograph showing the original alleyway. When it was only the one that runs parallel with Deer Run, which is the one he wants to abandon. And the property that's the triangle property actually used to be part of our property. And when they put in the alleys, as more houses got built, because ours was built in the 20s, a lot of those were in the 40s and the 50s, they put a new alleyway in, and they basically, cut off part of the property. So when we bought our house, we had the opportunity to actually buy the triangle of land behind us. We went to Richard Ventura, who was at the time the city planner, and we said, we'd love to connect the property. We had a wood frame garage in the backyard that was falling apart. We saw it as an opportunity to have more green space and to rebuild the CBS building there. He told us absolutely not, that they were purposely zoned differently so that it was totally unbuildable. It was a vacant lot for reason, and in emergency we would need it, whether it was a rescue vehicle, FP&L vehicle, the water, and for the general public. Someone's putting in a swimming pool, someone wants to plant trees, that everybody in the city valued having the unique aspect of the alleyways. And with the hurricane coming, all of that in our minds is, we did lose a lot of trees. It is convenient for people to use an alleyway to bring in trees. It's not just about picking up trash. It's not just about your electric or your phone, but it is about that as well. And when someone's coming in for their own private benefit, it's a monetary thing. He bought that house because we know we passed on buying that property. So the owner who owned the 25 Pinecrest, or 25 Deer Run, purchased it was basically done in two pieces that form one triangle. And that was Richard Marr, and he bought the property, and then he sold it to the owner who's now trying to get it, abandoned. The thing is, he knew from day one, if you were going to buy that property, it's unbuildable. They're all zoned, I don't know, say this is B1, A1, C1. They're purposely zoned differently. But there's certain properties that will be most affected by it. And so we looked on, like, say, the city of Coral Gables as an example. Anytime someone wants to abandon something, there is a very strict guideline. It requires that the notification needs to be like 45 days in advance. It's $1,500 just to file the application. Anyone's property within 1,000 feet of that is notified at that time. My neighbor Hamid, who lives directly behind me, and us, our property, I mean, I brought our survey because it's unusual. There aren't very many places where there's two alleys. The alleyway that he wants abandoned is literally a straight shot, which if you're driving a car, what's the easiest direction to go is in a straight trajectory. If that alleyway was abandoned, every truck and every vehicle has to take a 45-degree turn in a 16-foot wide alleyway between his home and my home. We already have garbage trucks run into our fences. He has to run into his concrete wall, into his gate. There's a telephone pole 17 feet from behind our house that's not on his sketch. A survey requires having all water and all utility poles on it. He didn't do a survey, he did a sketch. So the sketch purposely omits important things like the water runs through the alleyway.
Water main runs through the area that they want to have.
So if a water pipe got broke, which I think you guys had an incident like that, our other neighbor, Jennifer Graham, in the recent past had a water line, although she didn't know it was broken because it was in the alleyway, because our neighbor hadn't had the waterways marked when he did a fence, and he broke her pipe, and she got like a $700 bill. And if it had been followed that he had marked it correctly, then she would have had that, but she didn't even know until the water had been running in the alley for a month. So if he would build or do something on this, it will affect, if something happened with my water pipes or any of my neighbors going down the entire alleyway. It's not just the electric, it's not just the power, the water literally runs down the alley. And all they've talked about is relocating one pole. There's 2 poles, by the way, behind that property. Well, there's 2 directly behind that property.
All right.
And one of them is directly behind my property, which is right in front of the triangle of land. So I think that you need to, it's not fair to us who, we already live here, we already have our houses here. This is for his own personal gain. He has a 2,400 square foot house that he bought, and he bought this land that he pays only a couple $100 in property taxes on, while we pay significantly more on all of our land. He has a building there that he rents out as an illegal apartment. He has boats that are parked there. He has trailers that are parked. That property has been used, and we've never complained in manners that weren't necessarily fair to the neighbors, because we tried to be neighborly. But this isn't being neighborly to us. We need, if we lose power, we want our power restored just like everybody else does.
Sure. Thank you. Very nice, thank you. John?
Good evening, council, staff. John Souter. I too live in the system of alleyways connected to the alley that is being requested to be abandoned, and am outraged that it's even being considered. It's really shameful, is what it is. Shame on all of you all. On June 13, I turned in 30 signatures, 23 of which were people that live on this system of alleyways. Direct opposition to this abandonment of publicly owned property. Shameful. I hope you all didn't already take this man's money to abandon this property, because I can tell you, I'm going to be back here next week, and I'm going to be ringing the bell for every one of my neighbors to be back here next week. This is outrageous You sitting there smiling.
Hey, please,
Yeah,
please,
really.
direct
Really.
it to me. Mr. Sodders, direct it to, don't do that.
know what?
Direct it to
No,
me.
Just freaking get
No,
rid of this
no,
guy. This guy.
don't do that.
We are talking
be
about
calm,
something that our former
be
city
calm.
attorney would not have allowed.
Be calm, and just talk on the basis of what you're
Covenant
talking
in
about.
lieu of unity of title isn't worth the paper it's printed on. He knows it. Jan Seaton knew it. There's a dozen things wrong with this deal. It stinks. It's wrong for the city. It's wrong for the residents. They're talking about precedent. I don't care about precedent. Every case has to stand by itself. And this stinks. There are 30 people who turned in their signatures in opposition to this. And none of that is in the full agenda packet. None of it. And I want to know why. I'd like to hear from every member of council if you all got the email that I know was disseminated because I verified it twice with Juan Garcia. Did you all get the email? It was 20 pages. Time stamped. June 13. I, so-and-so, am opposed to this. Did you all get it? Yes or no? And if so, why isn't it part of this agenda? Why isn't it part of the full agenda packet? You got 4 voices, 2 at 25 and 2 at 37 that want a piece of property. Guess what? It's owned by 14,000 people, 30 of whom said no. Shameful. Thank you all.
Yvonne Schomburger.
Freaking real.
Yes, I did tell you something. Do you want to come together?
We're a team also.
Yes. Frank and Yvonne Schonberg.
I remembered it.
85-year run.
I remember the dancing at the Hurricane. You
Thank
two.
you.
That was pretty good.
I really miss the hurricane.
We missed that too.
We also came to talk about the abatement of the alleyway.
For the second time. This has been addressed to the council previously.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. It
we
was turned down,
we
yeah.
own some property. We used to own property on the beach, and that really made us learn how valuable and how precious having alleyways and having good garbage pickups are, and how it makes this a special community. That this is a real asset. To have alleyways makes your community run so much nicer. It's something that Miami Springs has that's very special that very few communities have. And we don't want to lose any of it. We're spoiled. We don't want to be unspoiled. I like being able to drive straight out. You don't want to have to drive a tortuous path around and way out of my way to go out the alleyway. We can drive straight through from our street, through our porte-cochere and out the alley. And since the cars pile up in there, you know, we'd have to move one car to get another car out if we couldn't go out the alley. So we really want not to have the alleyway blocked. I was going to say I love my neighbors and I wouldn't be against them building, but after hearing what some of the other people said, I'm not so sure one way or another. Okay, Frankie, you have some?
I've got a couple of questions, probably some issues that should be taken up to the legal aspects. I know that residents are supposed to be notified. We received 2 sketches in the mail. Actually, so I think some of them were hand-delivered. But one was dated the 16th, I believe, and another one was dated the 6th or the 9th. But they were different. There were two slightly different sketches of how the alley was going to be set up. So there seemed to be some conflict there on the way that they were going to do the abandonment. So that seemed to be a problem to me, and I'm wondering about this proposed new electric. There's electric there in that building. Are they taking that building out? That building has been there for years. And there's electric to that building.
Hey, okay.
So they're obviously putting in new electric for something else. You know,
We hear your concerns.
It's obvious that they are trying to do something that just smacks of additional building that doesn't seem appropriate.
Okay, thank you.
I have just one little thing to say on that. I always remember when Mr. Fort came and talked to us. Mr. Fort was the man that lived in Miami Springs that was on the Building and Zoning Board for a long time. And he lived to be over 100. Both him and his wife lived to be over 100. And when he was over 100, he came and talked to us, and he stood up and talked for about an hour and a half. He had trouble hearing, so his daughter had to yell the questions into his ear, but once he got the questions. But he told us that they never approved any variances. And that's the kind of history that we have in our zoning board. That's the kind of things that made Miami Springs what it is today.
Thank you. I thank everybody that wanted to come speak. We appreciate it. Well, I did get that email with the signatures. I did get it.
Yeah, it's all right.
We go to 5A, August 21st, 2017 workshop. 5B, August 28th, 2017 workshop meeting. And 5C, August 29th, 2007. I'm sorry, B was a regular council meeting. C, a workshop meeting. I need
Through the chair, motion to move 5A, B, and C, sir.
call the vote.
Vice Mayor Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Councilman Petrolanda. Yes. Mayor Bain.
Yes, we go on to 7A, a public hearing of a resolution.
Yes, this is a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Miami Springs, Florida, adopting a tentative budget for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2017 and ending September 30th, 2018, confirming date of second public hearing, providing for incorporation of recitals, and providing for an effective date. As you know, in whereas clause, the fourth whereas clause, it states the City Council and the City Manager have reviewed the city's proposed fiscal year 2017-2018 budget, considered an estimate of the necessary expenditures contemplated for in the budget, and determined the proposed millage rate levy of 7.3575 mils to provide the necessary funds for such expenditures. And then on Exhibit C of the attachment, you have a listing of the proposed budget amounts. Let me just read them off. General fund is $16,444,897 in revenues and reserves, and the same amount for expense appropriations and reserves. Special revenue funds is $1,929,821, and it's a like amount for revenues and reserves and for expense appropriations and reserves. Enterprise funds is $2,960,880, like amount for expense appropriation and reserves. And debt service fund is $971,600 for a total budget of $22,307,198. And the second public hearing is set for next Monday, September 25th at 7 p.m.
This is a public hearing. You'd have to sign up. You're allowed to speak. Keep it to a minimum.
Mayor and Council, good evening again. Mary Owens, 169 Corridon Drive. Thank you. I sat through the workshops and I saw the back and forth, the give and take, the carryings on, and the criticality of your thinking, and I think this was by far the best budget you've ever put together. And thank you for lowering it ever so slightly, the millage rate. As a resident since 1958, I really think this council has outdone themselves in their hard work for budgeting and being fiscally responsible. Thank you all. I applaud you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak on this item? You don't want to speak on this item? Okay, I close the public hearing and I'll entertain a motion.
Through the chair, motion to move 7A, sir.
Second.
Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Councilman Petrolano.
Yes.
Mayor Payne.
Yes. All right. Now we go to consent agenda, which we don't have any consent agenda. Old business. We're all old up here.
Speak for yourself, Mayor. Really?
Before I go to the resolution, do you want to talk about, I'm going to give you the privy, you want to talk about the, there's something that I know he must not have got time to, but he wants, come on up and present, we have plenty of time, come up, present to council what your
George
motivation
Aguilar,
is.
been a resident of Miami Springs for 20-some years. I'm just trying to get some help to get supplies down to the people in the Keys. I've been working with Mayor Bain and Carl Bithorn. We just parked a 20-foot container at the Optimus Club, and I have a list of items to contribute to anybody in the Keys.
Should
Anybody
leave
wants
them
to
with
help?
us.
And
Once
the
you
goal
leave.
is to bring it down, to fill it up and bring it down to the as much as we can.
Thanks for taking that up.
What's your time
Let me see
frame,
that. I'll put
George?
that online for you.
When do you need it by?
As soon as possible.
ASAP, of course, but
I mean, you have any kind of deadline at all?
Not really.
No, as fast as we can fill it up. Okay.
Get it back and fill it up again.
Well, they just opened the keys all the way down yesterday, so.
Yeah, I've spoken to the American Legion, Post 154, mile number 49.5, and they are expecting our...
Well, I hope that this is something that the city could get behind. Give them the opportunity to come up here and speak.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah, thanks for.
hopefully some people are watching the meeting, and we as a council can maybe help them out and bring it on. We can put it on the. We can publicize it best that we can for them.
Yeah, post on the web, and plus the Gazette comes out Wednesday, so that's perfect.
And maybe we can put a email on, what do you call it, the Facebook blast and
Yes.
Twitter, and do what we can for them. That's for the people down the Keys, and a lot of
George?
people are in a very
George?
dire strait.
Are you there now? Is the container parked there now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I
And it'll
just
be there,
just came here from that.
it'll be there the rest of the week
As long as we need to use it,
until you fill it up, or?
fill it up, I will...
So George, you're asking that residents come by and just on location, just give stuff?
Well, I would like, I mean, I don't think it's...
Come to the podium.
I'm not used to this.
That's okay.
I don't like attention.
I know, I can see that, but I had to get you up here.
Yeah. I would like to be there when people load.
I mean, I don't mean they're just going to leave it. There's going to be folks there to receive things, right?
We should work on something like that, yeah.
Okay.
He has the
yeah,
hours
but I
here.
got the hours there. It would be me.
So it will
after
be
6.
6 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Right.
during the week, and Saturday from 12 to 5.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So
All right, we got
I'll
it.
get some help on the weekend, but for the most part, during the week, it'll be myself.
We'll try to get out best we can
Okay.
for you.
If we can get some volunteers, it would be great.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk to Coach Ryan with the high school and
Hey,
see if we
Ryan.
can get some wrestlers after school hours.
Gotcha.
For community service or something. So.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Alrighty.
George,
Good idea.
I didn't I noticed you didn't, or at least I didn't see it, clothing on here. Is that something you don't
I
want
saw
in case we
somewhere where they're not accepting clothing.
Okay.
I don't know why, but
Okay.
just I don't
In
want to
case
get
we're
items
asked, I
turned
just
away,
wanted to
yeah.
know.
I don't
How
wanna
big
get
is the
items away.
container,
I
George?
can actually speak to
Okay.
that.
Is it a
A number of
secret?
mayors went down with Commissioner Diaz all the way down to Big Pine, and the reason that they're not accepting clothing, just like they're not accepting mattresses, is that some of the times they're just leaving the supplies outside. And so, they're leaving them by churches that are coming and distributing them later. They don't really have a central distribution
Okay.
point that people are coming to. Here it is, and as they go down the Keys, and they're really looking for things that withstand the weather and non-perishable
Right,
things like that.
non-perishable.
Oh, that's good to know. Thank
George,
you.
how big is the container?
It's 20 feet.
Sea container?
20 feet?
Yeah, 20 feet by 8 foot tall by 8 foot wide.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm wondering if we could put it in the community center, and then we could provide staff for people coming during the day and drop off stuff. If
I
that
just
would
gotta
help.
coordinate with somebody to move it. That's all. I just need to know when you guys want to.
Well, let me know. If you want, I can have it at the parking lot in the community center. We can
Okay.
keep it there for the week.
Okay, let me talk
Makes
to my
sense.
my
Let me
friend
know.
that brought it over here for me and his 18
Okay.
see what his schedule's like.
Thank you for doing this.
Yes,
Thanks, George. You're a good man, sir.
What happened to your father? Oh, there he is. Okay.
Is that on cue? Like you knew who was walking
I have
in?
that kind of sense.
Escorting the driver out of the city.
All right, well, now, we might have an opportunity, he's gonna contact, maybe we could put it at the community center.
If we can put it in the community center, we can have, people can come in during the day and drop off stuff.
So if you wanna move it there, you coordinate with him tomorrow, move it.
Call me tomorrow, okay.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Definitely gonna do that? Yeah, we'll move it, right?
I gotta ask him.
Okay.
I don't want to
We'll
say
let
yes
you
to
know.
somebody else's
We'll let you know.
behalf. You know, this is his business, so.
Right. We're also gonna reach out to the high school. I'm gonna talk to,
He's like me, father like son, right?
yeah, I don't make
The people have to hear, so you know you're
Yeah.
done.
Anyway, we're gonna reach out to the high school sports team, see if they can give us some boys to help load while
Right,
we're at work.
well, yeah, but if we can get it at the community center, like the manager said, maybe we can
Much
help
better.
staff it like
Yeah.
they did with the ice and the food.
Okay,
All
wonderful.
right?
Great. Well, thank
Try
you
to
all.
let him know in the morning so he can get it in the,
Okay.
we can do it right, okay?
will. Thank you all.
All right,
Yeah.
God bless.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
All right, we have, oh, that was it, that's it. Okay, now we go to 10B, a resolution to the
This is
mayor
a-
and city council.
This is a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Miami Springs, Florida, approving the Recreation Department pool facility rental application and agreement, providing for an authorization and providing for an effective date. You remember at the last meeting, you approved the rate sheet, and we said once our city attorney reviewed the agreement, we'll bring it back to you for approval. And he's attached the final version of the agreement for you to approve this, so we can start working on this, on these rentals.
Okay. I have entertain a motion for this resolution.
I make a motion to approve it.
I'll be happy to second it. Or if
You lucked
Councilwoman,
out, Bob.
yeah, Councilwoman Zapata beat me.
She
I
beat you
understand.
this
Yeah,
time
she did,
for
she
the
did,
first
she-
time.
Yeah, she did.
Are there any,
No, not the
any
first.
discussion, further discussion on it? Let's call the vote.
Vice Mayor Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Councilman Petralanda.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes. That concludes this meeting. We have anything from the city attorney today?
No, Mayor and Council, just happy to hear that everyone's safe and secure, and that we lost a lot of trees in the city, but fortunately we have a lot to be thankful for, and certainly I saw all of you on the community, so it was a good sight to see.
And
Mayor,
Mr. Alonso.
I'd like at this time, before I make my comments, as you know, Tom Nash is here. He's, him along with the chief and with Omar, those three departments have really done a great job over the past week in getting our city recovered from this. And I'd like to bring Tom up for a minute just to give you an update on where we stand right now as far as garbage
Tom, run
and
up here,
debris.
please. Run up here.
Come on the double.
He didn't bring
Man, it's like you got a sore foot or something.
Yeah, I took a fall Sunday night and didn't take care of it in time, so I'm suffering the repercussions.
Go, you have the floor.
All right. I want to thank the chief and his officers because last week, right after the storm, about 5 a.m., I had to literally cut my way into Public Works. We had lost a large tree from the gas station side in across our pumps and our main gates. His officers came in, shined their lights so that I can get in there and cut my way in to get the gates open. Probably by late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning, I think we had the city roads open 100%. We started with 4 garbage trucks on Wednesday. We scoured the entire city to get everything that we could. Today we started our regular normal garbage, and we got about 98%. We've got about 5 alleys that we still can't access for Monday's route, which we should be able to manage tomorrow. And then tomorrow we'll do full Tuesday route, and I believe we're going to be able to get everybody on that route. As of yesterday evening, between the Public Works Department and our debris haulers, we've moved just under 10,000 cubic yards of material out of the city. I've asked our debris haulers to let us continue to move material. I'm not sure how many here are familiar with the process that we're in now. Pretty much when FEMA steps in now, it's out of our hands. Every pile, every limb, every branch, every leaf has to be measured, documented, GPS'd, photographed before they can touch it. So it's actually slowed the process down significantly. They've got a lot of resources on the ground. They're starting to develop a rhythm, and to minimize the damage like what we had in previous hurricanes, I suggested that we keep going in the alleyways with the debris removal, because we know the alleys, we know where the water meters are, we know what we have back there, and let them just concentrate on the roadways. So until we get kicked out of the debris site, we're going to continue moving our trucks. Our trucks are significantly smaller. We normally get 5 to 6 blocks on one truck on a normal. We're getting 3 to 4 trucks on one alley. So, you know, it's a process, but we've made significant headway. I think we've done, you know, pretty good with where we're at, and we've had a lot of cooperation from the residents and the community as well. So one of the debris managers actually said we're 3 weeks ahead of any other municipality with their even starting their debris removal. So we're in really good shape right now.
Good.
Tom, could you mention something to the residents that are going to be listening as far as hiring people to trim their trees or cut down their trees based on what happened today?
Yeah, we have some rogue trimmers, if you want to call them. They're just gentlemen in pickup trucks that are scouring the city trying to make money. We had an incident today on Bluebird and Hammond where 3 guys came in and attempted to remove a black olive tree on private property. They made the cuts incorrectly. The tree fell and pulled down the power lines that were just recently restored. The lines came down across equipment that our contractors were physically working in the area, so it shut us down for 45 minutes. And we had to shut the school, the Springview Elementary, on lockdown, and just so that we can get the area safe. One of the things also is there's a lot of hanging limbs.
What you're trying to say to the people that are listening on camera is to make sure that if you have any problem, you could call up the city. They have some numbers that are you have some landscaping companies that are listed correctly, correct?
Right.
And then any other one that you see a number on their truck or something, maybe confirm with Public Works or the city that particular person works. That's what you're trying to say right now.
Right. 2 guys in a pickup truck just doesn't always work.
Doesn't work. Okay.
Right.
Make that clear. Yeah.
Correct. And then, of course, when the damage was done, those 3 gentlemen took off. They were nowhere to be found.
Of course not.
And the person who hired them?
He didn't take any information. They just hired them on their way out of the driveway and said they'd be back in a little while, and all of this took place while they were not home.
Okay.
Did they get paid?
No.
No.
They didn't pay up front.
Anything else that's in particular you'd like to say?
Just with the hanging limbs and the damaged trees that we have right now, the contractors that are in place, they'll be removing anything that's twisted, split, cracked, broken, or damaged. They are not doing any restoration cuts.
Right.
They're just removing the hazards and the imminent dangers, the threats. So there's a lot of work that we're going to be needing to do moving forward.
Right.
A lot of the cuts that they're going to be making may seem to be inappropriate, or they may aesthetically change the appearance, but they're having to remove those limbs because of the damage that's there.
And plus, they could fall on a car or somebody walking by. Right.
Correct. That's it.
Well, I think that you should be commended, your whole staff, and
yes, my
been
guys
fantastic.
are phenomenal for the
Tom, and even before the storm hit, how you and your guys were out to the very, very last minute helping residents do things that they just couldn't do for themselves. And I got so many people told me about
times that you just showed up and took care of something for them.
Well, that's
you
what
and your
we're here
guys,
for.
and these were far and beyond the call of duty. So thank you so much.
That's what we're here for. That's what we make the big bucks for.
Now make sure and make sure you take care
Put on
of
a raise,
yourself
Willie.
as far as when you do
Yes.
things, you know.
Yes.
You know, you
My wife keeps telling me to slow down, but
well, I'm
as
not
long
your
as I'm
wife.
standing,
I'm
gonna
not your
run.
wife, but I'm going to tell you, keep. Thank you, Tom.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you
Appreciate
so
it.
much.
Tom Nash, through the chair, just before you leave the well. A lot, as Councilwoman Mitchell said a moment ago, there's a lot of discussion around town about how off the charts you've been before, during, and after specifically this hurricane. Hats off to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
To you and your crew.
I've been doing it for 25 years. It just comes natural. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
And by the way, as of 6 o'clock, I know most of you know, we're down to 50
Wow.
residents
incredible.
without
Wonderful.
power.
50.
So
Yeah, it's another-
hopefully by tonight we'll have them all
Does that
back.
include the ones on Bluebird that just lost it again?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Pichalonga, you're first today.
Wow.
All right. Where to start? We've been gone through you know what in the past 12 days. Luckily, I wrote something down. First of all, I want to thank all the residents for having the patience that it takes to go through this hurricane that we've been through. And before I start, Mayor, I'd like to go to just saw Mike and I remembered. Before I continue, I should say. I'm not sure if renaming the circle is the way to go, but at least a street. I'm not sure if we can get consensus on
Well,
that.
I personally would rather that be something put on the agenda to discuss. This is just a forum
Alright.
here. We're just talking about
Okay.
closing the
Alright.
meeting.
Now, so I thank the residents. I want to thank William. I know last council I called you out on that you were not getting the word out to us. I have to tell you, I have to eat my words this time. You've done a fine job, sir. You put out the word. You kept it safe. You kept it secure, and you gave us that sense because all the data you were putting out to us, and we were in turn putting it out to the people. So I want to thank you for the fine job you done last time. I was very critical of you. I want to make sure that this time you get the credit that you deserve and have earned. Thank you. Thank you for everything you did for us. I want to thank Omar. Omar and his staff preparing for the storm by filling up sandbags and then shoveling ice. All right, those two preparations meant a lot to people, and I think Omar and his staff deserve all the praise that we can give them. I want to, with Tom left, I want to thank Tom and Paul, Dell, and Tammy for everything they've done, and your whole staff, William. I want to thank them. I also want to thank Alpha Gamma Group Seafood, located in Medley, and Incredible Fish. I believe these are the two companies that stepped up. Before any politician or anybody gave us eyes, these two companies gave us eyes. Okay, they were the ones who gave us eyes. I spoke to Brian Avila, see if we can come up with something so we can give it to them. Praising them and thanking them because that was the first time we had ice. Before all the other entities came together, they came through for us, and I want to thank them. I also want to thank Mayor Carlos Jimenez for getting us through before the hurricane, Commissioner Sosa, Representative Avila, and FPL CEO Eric Silagi. Now, the CEO came to Miami Springs. Commissioner Sosa brought her to us.
Him
Brought him to us and to show us around. And I have to tell you, the mayor gave him a piece of his mind, not only to him, but also to Sosa, Commissioner Sosa. And I want to commend you for that. All right, because you really let them have it.
Well, it was constructive though. Don't.
It was.
Don't
No, that's
say
what
it
I
like-
meant.
Okay.
If not, I won't
well,
be giving you praise.
I wanted. Right. It was constructive criticism.
I wouldn't be giving you praise if it wasn't constructive.
Okay.
criticism.
Thank you. I appreciate.
He's
it.
not sure of that, though.
I appreciate it.
I also want to thank Mayor for his leadership the whole time. He took us through, and his leadership, I know for me, it meant a lot. And also his better half, our first lady, his wife, Grace Bain. I want to thank her for everything she did throughout the whole ordeal, the whole process. I want to thank Vice Mayor Bob Best for everything he did. But the one that the one that really blew my mind out was Councilmember Maria Mitchell. I think she did an outstanding job for being a rookie council member. All right? She is. I was called a rookie my first time around by Noree Owens. All right? She was everywhere, in every event, just about every event she was there. Okay, I remember one particularly. Omar and myself were very impressed when the first trucks got there. She jumped inside the truck with Omar and myself and moved, what was it, 2 pallets of ice from one truck to the other. And she didn't hesitate. She says, "Do you need help?" I said, "Come up." And she climbed on top of the truck and started moving ice with us.
Cool.
She was everywhere.
Sure was.
Okay, very impressed with everything you did,
Thank you, Councilman.
Councilwoman Mitchell. I want to thank former Mayor Garcia for everything he did right after the storm through social media, telling us which garage was open, which store was open, which restaurant, everything that he did, because he was out there, directing us. It was right after the hurricane. I also want to thank my wife for putting up with me for this whole ordeal.
Go figure.
Okay? And finally, Mayor, I want to say, as a military man, as a Navy man, okay, the captain never abandons the ship. Never. Okay. Most of the times, the captain sinks with the ship. Okay. All right. And if the captain cannot uphold to those responsibilities, perhaps the captain doesn't need to be a captain. All right. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Well, I think that covers about everything. I don't know. That does everything.
yeah.
There's nothing else to say,
No,
really.
no,
but-
let's just-
but we'll let Miss Mitchell go next.
Absolutely.
I
We'll let
just
the
want to
rookie
say,
go.
wow, this community, I've never been more impressed with our town than how we just prepared for this nonstop. Everyone just got down to doing what they needed to do. And if you drove around just a few hours before the storm was ready to hit us, you just had to realize that we are one tough community. And as soon as that storm passed, we just pulled together and helped everyone. This community went out, and you could see neighbors out clearing their yards, clearing neighbors' yards, just checking on each other. So I'm just so proud and so amazed of Miami Springs, our residents and our community. And I wanted to thank the mayor, yes, for your leadership was amazing throughout all this. Councilman Petrolanda, thank you very much for your very nice comments, but you were 100% out there all the time too, and I really thank you, Councilman Best and Councilwoman Zapata, for all your support during this time for our community. I think everyone did what they needed to do, and that is from the residents to our employees, who I'm still in awe of how much our employees did, including the manager's office, the ones behind the scenes and the ones out on the street. Chief, I can tell you late last night, I was texting with a resident on Deer Run who still didn't have her power as of last night. And she said that it was so reassuring to see the Miami Springs police officers patrolling back and forth in front of her house. And this was like at 1 o'clock at night. She goes, that really, I know I'm without power, but it's so reassuring to know that they're protecting us. So again, thank you so much to this community. We're stronger than anything that comes our way.
Councilman Best.
Thank you, Mayor. It's been said, and here I am, the last one speaking, other than the mayor. But
One more. We got Mr. Zapata.
Maria. Oh, yeah.
He changed my name.
Mara Maria. The administration. This has been brought up numerous times in this meeting, and I'm just going to bring it up again. This is just absolutely off the charts. How this administration has stayed on top of this. I have a couple things to compare it to. One is Hurricane Andrew 25 years ago, and the other is Katrina and Wilma 12 years ago, in terms of how the city responded. One major difference that I note over 12 years ago is there was a staging area between Quail and Dove, because I think we had a lot more foliage down there. And I think that was the reason for that, and it was a staging area for FEMA and going and weighing the trucks and in terms of our compensation. But it seems to be going pretty well right now. Tom Nash has been on top of his game, as previously mentioned by my colleagues, and as he always is. And when you go through an event like this, citizens have a tendency to get a little on edge. I mean, if you're without power for 6 days, 7 days, you're going to get on edge. And you know what? It's sustained itself, though. It is not out of hand. People are working with each other. This town is very resilient in that area, and I'm very appreciative and thankful that this occurs. Tim Likey, Incredible Fresh, once again comes through as he did 12 years ago with the ice. Off the charts. Sanitation, a lot of residents have asked me, do we put our garbage in the alley or do we put it out front? Rule of thumb is out front, but I think at this point, because the city, as Tom mentioned earlier, has removed a lot of stuff from the alleys, if you walk out, this is what I'm telling residents, if you walk out in your alley and you look up and down and it's clear, put your garbage where it belongs in the back. Don't put it out front. That eliminates 2 runs for sanitation. That's kind of common sense. But you know, and the trees and everything that are being removed, it's just amazing. I'm thinking 3 weeks, 4 weeks before we're back to normal. That's kind of my guess. And finally,
don't say that. Don't say that.
well, if we can do it in 2, that's great, Bill. But I'm just.
Maria's out
Does anybody remember this map? That was it
There's
Dan?
my phone going
That
again.
Daniel?
Who was it now that
The
did
guy that
the,
retired.
Dennis.
That Dennis made before he retired here, 6 months ago or so. I ran around this morning and gave out 40 of these maps to these people from, there must be people from every state in the union in Miami Springs right now, by the way. Iowa, Michigan, California.
West Virginia.
Or West Virginia. Kentucky. Imagine
Kentucky.
that.
And they're not that smart in Kentucky.
But these guys are so appreciative for this because we're not a sectored community numbers-wise, streets and avenues. Our streets are all by name, and these guys have no idea where they are. And these guys were so thankful for this. I'm going to give this to the manager and ask him to make another 50 or 60 copies and have them available, or have Tom Nash to just pass them out to the guys that I might have missed this morning. But I tried to cover the city and give them out. So everybody be safe, and God bless the city of Miami Springs.
There you go. Ms. Spot.
I'll be very brief. I just want to say I spent a lot of time describing to people why I've lived here 34 years and wouldn't live anywhere else. If I were to live somewhere else, I'd leave Florida, because there's no other place like Miami Springs. And the example of people helping each other and the city responding the way that the city does, there's no other place, not even close to Miami Springs. And so I'm really proud to live here and to be able to serve this community. So that's all I have to say.
There's a couple people we need to talk. Lowell Dunn, as Bob, little history about that fire we had over there on Quail and thing. At that time, Jim Borgman and I happened to be the mayor at the time. We reached out to Lowell Dunn, and when we were doing this earlier on, I said, that's where we're putting the garbage out, the cuttings out at the Lowell Dunn lot that we had in the contingency. And, you know, new manager, and he contacted Betty Dunn, and she donated the property so that our cuttings and everything will go over there. It's easy for the FEMA people to handle. It's a little travel time, but we appreciate that they would get back to their city again and allow us to use their property to stack up all the debris.
Nice.
We appreciate that, Miss Betty. We forget one thing, Rene Garcia, our state senator. I maybe didn't have contact with some of you, but he was in contact with me. Anything that we needed here, we've got to remember him and what he in the support of helping with the different things that were going on. What was it, Christ Fellowship?
Yeah.
Christ Fellowship.
They went ahead and they offered about 400 hot meals. I think it was Friday afternoon. And I don't know, maybe 150 or it seemed like the people were more interested, the citizens were more interested in the food than the ice. I thought that was pretty neat that they came out and did that for us, and we got another contact. If there's an emergency for the senior center, they'd be willing to, we got the contacts to do that. You got to go ahead and thank, you know, I know that they're taking a little bit, but I got to say it, Florida Power and Light.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
Oh, my goodness.
if you remember back in Wilma and Katrina, when that particular time, we didn't have power for 12 to 18 days.
Andrew.
And they're putting on the whole southeast part of southeast part of Florida. They're doing it in frankly, since Tuesday, because Monday they couldn't work, and they're doing a phenomenal job. Eric, I don't know how to say his last name, for Commissioner Sosa to get the CEO of Florida Power and Light into our little city, to have that kind of attention and the kind of attention that Commissioner Sosa gives us. I was flabbergasted, but like Mr. Petrolonga said there, I got to let how you say, I got all the steam out.
He sure did.
I got all the steam out. The residents, some of them, majority of them, but I'll tell you, my head was going to pop off a couple of times in the last 2 or 3 days. I didn't know if I could. My hair, I'm losing it anyway. I think I lost a little bit more just trying to please them. And then the most important part is, everybody knows up here, I'm not tech savvy. I don't know this stuff. And by the time people were texting me, I was texting to the wrong people. So I'd be answering one guy, and then the manager calls me up. He says, "Who are you talking to?" I said, I was talking to you.
I've seen this on my phone too.
Yeah, what the hell? What's going on? Who are you talking to? Who are you saying you love? I said, "Well, it wasn't you, that's for sure." I mean, it was going crazy.
That was you. I thought it was Bob.
Yeah,
Me?
I thought it was
I
you.
saw it as well.
It was crazy.
Yeah,
It was
he's right.
crazy. But there's one most important thing, and I think Jaime, he took all the steam, though. Jaime did. The
Sorry.
city manager kept me informed and the rest of us informed. It was never,
I've never seen anything
man, he's
like it.
calling again, or never any kind of feel like that you're bothering him, because there was so much on his plate. And he's been there for this citizens of Miami Springs. It was a phenomenal situation, and I really appreciate that there, Mr. City Manager.
It's a team effort.
It was.
can't-
And people think that, you have to go ahead and say, well, I did this or that's why you have 5 people sit up here. Everybody has their strengths. Some can do this, some can do that. It should never be a competition. It should be that you're working strictly for what everybody can be allocated to do, and that's what makes a team, and that's what makes a successful situation. God bless that it, not for the people in the Keys, but we were spared. But that Thursday when my brothers and I were at the shop, and they showed that thing going straight to Miami, it scared a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
That was a situation that I don't usually get scared too much about this kind of stuff, but that really, 4 or 5 coming up like that, I don't know what would have been done. So, and now we got this other hurricane out there. I didn't want to say her name.
It just became.
I didn't want to say her name. We might have to change her name if
Please,
that
not to
damn
mention
thing's-
that name.
We might have to change her name,
It
but
just it just became a Cat 5. By
oh,
the way.
and one,
Is that
Yeah.
right?
yeah, and
That's why I haven't
it's a
taken my
direct
shutout
hit,
down.
Right?
a direct
Yeah.
hit on
3
Puerto
last
Rico.
I heard.
5.
There's one thing I got to say too, and I got to say it from me.
Yeah.
The police were out there. They were making sure cars got in to get the gasoline.
Oh, yeah.
They were slam jam job. Just really, really, what a team effort for everybody in
really
the city.
was.
It really
Bill,
was.
Bill, bring up the bomb scare.
Well, I didn't
Oh,
want to bring up
yes,
the
no.
bomb.
Why not?
Because
How about something like that happen in the middle of all this?
I don't know. People, that's one of the negatives. Let's talk about all the positives, and the positives works we came
Well,
to.
the positive is that they reacted to it.
Yeah, well, the Public Works saved the tot lot. For the record, people are calling the lot went, but they saved the fence, and they did. And you know what? They all had a good attitude about what people were. I need this, and
Yep.
I need that, and yes, we'll do best we can, and that's all we could do. And Tammy, she supports the manager, and I don't know if she can pick him up still after all these days that she was holding him up.
Mayor, let me tell you something about Tammy and ladies that work in professional services. If anyone has ever worked with FEMA, you know the amount of paperwork that's involved. I mean, these ladies already have binders this big of backup information getting ready for when FEMA comes in. And I mean, people see them in the office, but the work they're doing behind the scenes to get us ready for this was unbelievable. And like I said, it's a team effort all around.
All right, I'm sorry.
And just one more thing about police. Police were really the only people that during the storm, they were all hunkered down here, away from their families, okay, on call so that as soon as the winds died down, they would be out on the street. And they're to be commended for that. They did a great job.
Who was the lady that helped get the lady that you were talking about that got the connection to do the Fairhavens? What was her name?
Oh, the director over there?
Oh,
Kathy?
Kathy
Abello?
Yeah, I know you gave her a lot of kudos.
Oh,
on-
that was great. We had to pull a lot of strings to get that done because then right after that you had the issue in Hollywood, and but she did a great job because she got those seniors ready. She kept cooling them off she provided fans. She provided some activities for them to keep them cool during this time. But we were able to get. I think they were back up Tuesday or Wednesday.
Tuesday
They had
afternoon.
power back up.
Tuesday afternoon.
So that was. By the way, the 8 p.m. Update, we're down to 30
Okay.
people without power.
The last one is we have a special person that was looking out for us throughout this thing, and I was, this is the first time sitting up here that I actually had a lot of internal information that came to me, and sometimes I don't get that. We're a small town, but we have somebody very special that was doesn't want any praise, but was looking really out for us and behind the scenes that did a lot of things for the city and for the residents of this town. And from me, it's a personal thank you for him and her and them for what they did. This is the end of the meeting. God bless Miami Springs.
Thank you. Good job, Bill.
Thank you.
The last workshop, they lowered it to
Surprisingly
7.3575.
short.
Yeah.
Surprisingly short meeting.
I don't think
thought
you were
the
here
19
for
was
that
gonna
one.
be a very
Yeah,
long
you weren't
one.
here for that one.
Yes, yeah.